Hi friends, it is Julie. Welcome back to Pages and Pens. Today I am here to go over all of my signed books. My shelves will never be the same. This desk is about to break. Let's jump right into it. So over the years, I have amassed a lot of signed books, whether that's from book boxes or signings or book events or BEA, BookCon. I've had the opportunity to get a lot of signed books. This is something that a lot of people find exciting, so I figured I've never done that on my channel. Let's go through all of the books that I currently have on my bookshelves that are signed. Some of these are signed and personalized. Some of these I purchased signed through like a signing, right? You can order them signed. Some automatically come signed. Some of these I worked with authors and they sent me books signed. Some of these have book plates from book boxes. Some of them came signed from book boxes. So we're gonna run the gamut of all of my signed books. Some of these are special edition books. There's so many. I'm just gonna start pulling from the top of the pile, okay? Yeah, sounds good. I'm gonna start with the Folk of the Air series by Holly Black because I can knock them out really fast. They're all signed and none of them are personalized. They're all signed on this first page. These are all of the Owl Crate editions and they still have letters inside of them, some artwork inside of them in some cases, so it's difficult to show. This one has a signature and a sticker for the Cruel Prince, and then the Wicked King, she went big. So those are my Folk of the Air that are signed. Leigh Bardugo, we have Ninth House. I have not met Leigh Bardugo or Holly Black. These came signed. She's signatures up here. This is the UK edition. If you have not seen this one, which I don't know how, but this is the UK, I believe, Waterstones edition. Well, I really liked this book and I love these blue colors. I prefer that over the US colors, so that's what I went with. Also have King of Scars here, signed, I think personalized, yes. So, Julie, Leigh Bardugo down here. I have not read this. I don't know if I'm going to. I've tried a couple times. I DNF'd it. That's questionable, but you know. Some of these I have more than one from an author and they're buried in stacks, so it's very difficult for me to kind of show you those. This is Where Dreams Descend. This is the special Owl Crate edition where it doesn't have a cover to it. It just has the naked like library binding. It is gorgeous. I have not read that one yet. That goes on my unread shelf. I also have The Bone Houses by Emily Lloyd Jones in an Owl Crate, I believe. Her signature is down here. I also have another book by her somewhere in this pile that I'll show you at some point. I have Angel Mage by Garth Nix. I have a couple Garth Nix actually. This is a LitJoy exclusive, so it does have a beautiful tip-in page as well as artwork inside. And if you've not ever seen a LitJoy, artwork is falling out. LitJoy also does these exclusive dust jackets that you can reverse and they're beautiful. I have not read it yet. I haven't ever read a Garth Nix book, so at some point I will get to that one. I have Cemetery Boys by Aidan Thomas, which I have the little tarot cards in here, and then a signed book plate was part of the pre-order campaign because COVID, he couldn't get around to sign books, but I was able to buy that and then get the book plate. And then Star Daughter by Shweta Thakkar, and this one was an Owl Crate edition, and it is signed on this beautiful first edition Owl Crate page. There's her signature. Gorgeous special edition, purple edges. Love that aesthetically. I haven't read it yet. Winterwood by Shea Earnshaw. This I think came in LitJoy. Is this LitJoy? So this is the LitJoy cover underneath. For this one they did 2 dust jackets instead of the actual reversible, and then can you see her signature is down here? And it's just in regular pen, so it's a little bit harder to see. I have another Winterwood that's signed over there. That's the Owl Crate edition, so I'll get to that eventually. The Wicked Deep by Shea Earnshaw, which is one of my favorites. This one is not the version that I read and annotated and tabbed up and everything, but this one is one that Chelsea got for me when she went to Y'all West, right, in California. So it says to Julie, signed by Shea Earnshaw. Chelsea was able to meet her and get this signed, and I cherish that, even though it's not the one that I have like annotated and tabbed and highlighted and everything. I have The Wren Hunt by Mary Watson. This was a LitJoy book as well. Gorgeous artwork inside the book, which I love when LitJoy does that. And then signature right here on the title page. Gorgeous book. A really cool book too as well. Like the magic system in there is really neat. That is one that I've read and I did enjoy. I have The Conductors by Nicole Glover. This is a unplugged book box with a signed book plate. I have not read this one yet. This one is Historical Magical Philadelphia, which I live outside of Philadelphia, so I'm intrigued about but have not read. This one's also an unplugged, and this is The Ruthless Lady's Guide to Wizardry by C.M. Wagoner, and this one has a signed book plate that I just put in there kind of wherever. Another unplugged, love that. I believe this is also unplugged. This is The Bone Maker by Sarah Beth Durst. Again, another book plate, another beautiful art print in here. And then here is the signed book plate that I put on that page. I'm really excited about The Bone Maker, I'm not gonna lie. I'm running through these fast because when I tell you that there's a ton, there's a ton. The Princess Will Save You by Sarah Henning, signed on this page. And is this LitJoy? It is LitJoy because we have the reversible jacket. This one is a Princess Bride retelling, which I could be here for, but again, have not read. Here's the other Garth Nix. This one is The Left-Handed Booksellers of London. And this one is also signed on a very pretty page. This one was a LitJoy, so there's some artwork, and the reversible dust jacket will be in here. His letter is going to fall out. But here is like some of the dust jacket. Very cool. I do have my window open, so if you can hear stuff outside, I apologize. Nina Varela Cryer's War, and this was an owl crate, I believe. Yes. There's our signed tip-in page. Very pretty. And an exclusive cover. We have Bone Crier's Moon by Catherine Purdy. This one was a beautiful LitJoy crate. And this one is signed right here. Have not read that yet. Want to, have not. Obsidian Tower here, and this one is by Melissa Caruso. Signed book plate. This one was an unplugged book box. We've got Ink Mistress. This one is by Audrey Coulthurst, and I did work with her. This is a lovely letter that she wrote me. I did work with her, and so she signed this and said, to Julie, write your own fate, which feels very poignant, and then drew this really pretty, she drew a really pretty feather right there. I love feathers, so this one's pretty special, and I believe this is also about dragons or something. I don't know. I haven't read it, but I can't get rid of it. I maybe should because I haven't read it, but I can't. Phantom Limbs here by Paula Gardner, which was really cool. This was about a teen, I believe a swimmer, who had an amputation and then could still like feel the limb. Also signed and personalized because I worked with the author. And this says, to Julie, with much appreciation, Paula Gardner. Really did like this one. And also their raindrops, like the water droplets on this, are textured, but as it aged, the texture started to like flake off, but it's still pretty cool. Poured by Katrina Leno, which was an Owl Crate book. This one is signed. This is the reversible dust jacket, so I have it reversed up on my shelf. Red, White, and Royal Blue by Casey Mcquiston, which I loved. And this one had a signed book plate that came. Together We Caught Fire by Eva V. Gibson. This one was an unplugged book box and came with a signed book plate. This one is another Paula Gardner. I worked with her, so she did sign this for me. And this one says, to Julie, thanks for everything, Paula Gardner. And I work with Candlewick Press a lot, and they reached out to me about something with Audrey Coulthurst and Paula Gardner. They were doing a combo book, which I read and enjoyed, but not as much as their individual work. And so they said that they would send over their other works signed to me, which was really nice. So I enjoy this one. This is one that I haven't gotten to yet, but Chelsea Palmer apparently loves it. I have a note on here. It says Chelsea Palmer loves it. So I kept it because I haven't read it, but she really liked it, so I figured I would give it a try. They're having a full-blown party out there, so excuse the noise. Timekeeper by Tara Sim. This was actually, I think, an Owl Crate, maybe? Or maybe this came signed from, like, Book Outlet, but I have a signed book plate in here for Tara Sim's Timekeeper, and I have finished this whole series. It's very cool. It's very, like, steampunk, magic, queer. I love it. It's one of my favorite series. And then we have a signed first edition of Down Among the Sticks and Bones, as well as Beneath the Sugar Sky. Sean Mcguire would often have these available signed, and then I don't think I've gotten any of her other ones signed, but the two of these are both signed. So right in here, there's her signature. And then this one, similarly, right on this first page, is also signed. And then we have Winterwood by Shea Earnshaw, which was an Owl Crate book, I believe. And again, she just signs it down here with like regular pen, so it can be really hard to see. But this is a beautiful edition. Did I love this book? No. No, I didn't. I actually read an arc of this that I got at BEA, and then have 2 signed copies as well as the arc. So I have 3 copies of a book that I didn't love, but I like her writing. I just didn't love that book. So he's okay. The Hearts We Sold by Emily Lloyd Jones, the author of The Bone House, and I loved this book. I read that this year. I have my notes over here, and that has a signed book plate from Owl Crate. The Hazelwood by Melissa Albert, also an Owl Crate book. And they have a beautiful tip-in page here. I really liked this one as a mix of contemporary and fantasy. It does have like real world and then also these dark, grim fairy tales, which fairy tales are all pretty grim, but really like that one. This one by A.M. Strickland, Beyond the Black Door, I loved. Loved, loved, loved. I believe our main character is Ace, and it also just has this like really cool like mental prison for a demon type of a situation. Very, very neat. And this has a Fierce Reads book plate. I believe this was, I want to say it was an unplugged, but I could be wrong. I think it was unplugged. Either way, I loved this book. And I believe their next book is Vampires. And I'm here for it. I'm going to read it for sure. M.A. Carrick, which is a writing duo. This is The Mask of Mirrors. I've heard nothing but great things about this chunker. This also came in an unplugged book box and is signed with a book plate by both authors, which was really neat. I put that right there on the dedication page. These stacks of books are just on my bed. They're going to fall for sure. Sorcery of Thorns. I love this book. I just talked about it in my Fantasy Rex book, and this one is a really cool tale with a bisexual main love interest who is male bisexual love interest, which is awesome. Cool magic system, libraries turned into demons. Like, it's really cool. And this one was an Owl Crate book, and there's all of the, oh my goodness, all of the artwork is still in here. We have a really cool tip-in page. So this one is one of my favorites for sure. I still have a big stack. Dark Dawn by Jay Kristoff. This is the UK edition, and this is when I started to get onto this series. So Nevernight came to me through Chelsea from Chelsea Darling Reads, and she sent me the first one in the UK covers. So then I went for God's Grave and Dark Dawn in the UK covers, and then this one did come signed. It says signed by the author right here, and most of his books now come signed if you pre-order them. And I did pre-order this one with the black sprayed edges, and I really did like the culmination of this in terms of plot and the way the plot wove together, but there's parts of that series I don't love. This one is the arc of City of Souls, City of Ghosts by Victoria Schwab, and this is an arc that's signed. I want to say that Crystal sent this to me. Pretty sure Crystal sent this to me. I'll have her channel linked down below if you're into anything witchy or crystals or magic. Her channel is very diverse now, and I'm here for it. I believe she got an extra one and sent it to me. Like, I think she went with her boyfriend, who's now her fiance. She got one, he got one, she sent one to me, which I appreciate very much because I have all of Victoria Schwab's books, and I don't have the hardcover of this, but I do have a signed arc, which works for me. This Savage Song by Victoria Schwab, which came in an Owl Crate box with a signed book plate. Love this series. The Monsters of Verity series is one of my favorite, like, YA urban fantasy series. I really enjoy it. It's not for everybody. I really like it. And then I have Vicious and Vengeful, both signed. And this is just the way I bought them from Barnes & Noble. I think they all came signed. So both of those are signed. And a lot of the times you used to be able to just go into the stores and find signed copies. It's a little bit harder now because COVID, but in general, you could often find signed copies of things. I have Laughter at the Academy by Seanan Mcguire. This is a bind-up of Seanan Mcguire's short stories. This was impossible to find. I really wanted it. I love Shauna Mcguire. I love her writing. This is the only place that you could find all of her short stories bound into one book. It was a limited run. So for whatever reason, mine came in this like protective cover, like the sleeve. I don't know why. But this one is a signed limited edition. It was $40. I ended up paying more than that because my pre-order did not go through, which was bullshit. But here is the signed page, and my number is 839 of 1,250. So there's only 1,250 of these books printed. I got 839 and her signature, and I have read through this and tabbed it up. I definitely have my favorites. Not all of them are, but if you're interested in these individually, because I think you can buy them individually on like Kindle or something, or find them in different compilations of short stories. I have a review for each one of these on Goodreads, which I don't use anymore, but I was at that time. So that one's really cool. I'm very happy to have that. I also have the deluxe edition of the Carvalh series by Stephanie Garber, which I like. I don't even love it, but then I got these from Fairy Loot, and I couldn't say no. Let me give you a quick tour of these since these are deluxe editions. Each cover is beautifully embossed with beautiful end pages. The covers all say Carvalh across the spines naked. The quotes on the front all say something as well. And each one of these is signed by Stephanie Garber. So they all, you don't need to see the signature on all of them, but this is the cover for it. This is the end page. This is the quote on this one. And they're beautiful. They really are. And then here is the deluxe edition for this one. And the gorgeous spine and book of it. They're stunning. And I love them, and they usually sit right up over here where I've moved my Emporium trilogy to make room, to cover room rather. I also have, speaking of Emporium trilogy, Furyborn by Claire Legrand, which I sent to Amber down in Texas, and when she went to Novatine, she got Claire Legrand to sit. I don't know if it was Novatine actually or a library event or a Barnes & Noble event, but she got Claire to sign this for me and actually send me a video of her like saying hello to me. And ironically, it was like the day that I finished the arc of Kingsbane and didn't love Kingsbane, so I still haven't finished this series. I have high hopes for the way that it all wraps up, but I got so angry at the character choices in Kingsbane. If I can find that video, I'll put a clip of it in here.
Okay. Hi Julie, it's Claire. I am so grateful for your readership, and I'm glad you love my books, and I'm sad that I won't be able to see you next week in Bensalem, but you rock, and I hope you continue to enjoy the Imperium trilogy. Bye!
Because I think I do still have it, but it was really cool of her, and Amber has gotten a lot of things signed for me. Like, I send her my books, and then she goes to signings, or used to go to signings, and then send them back to me, which was really nice of her. Which is what happened with Strange Grace by Tessa Gratton. And she went, and I think she got the first ever signed book of this on release day. This is very hard to see, but it does say to Julie, and then Tessa Gratton. Can you see that up in there? To Julie. And then her signature down at the bottom. It's just a tricky one because it's a dark pen, like a purple pen on a dark page already. But this is one of my favorite books. I love this book so much. Since then, I've tried to read other Tessa Gratton and not vibed with it. This one works really well for me. Very diverse, really cool, like polyamorous relationship. And in a YA, like I had never seen that before. And I really liked the magic in this and the lore and the mythology. I just thought it was really well done. The Diviners by Libba Bray. This is like a big old floppy cover. This one I think Chelsea from Chelsea Darling Reads unhauled and sent to me because she got the other series, but then I actually met Libba Bray at Novatine in Virginia, and she said, "For Julie, you are the cat's meow, Libba Bray." We had a nice discussion. It was a lot of fun. I have a haul video I think up for when I went to Novatine, if you want to take a look at that, or like just like an experience video of it, I suppose. And she was phenomenal. She gave the keynote speech that day, and it was awesome. Awesome. I love her. All right, let's see. Also at Novatine, I met the author of The Birds, the Bees, and You and Me, Olivia Heinbaugh. This book is really good. It's kind of Girl on the Verge meets safe sex and just like sex ed in schools, and it is phenomenal. So she signed it to Julie, rock on, Olivia, and she had pins that she gave out. I believe I have a condom pin. It was very cool. But this one is a great feminist tale for YA. If you have not read this, I do recommend this one. At Nova Teen, I met Kathryn Locke, who lives in my area. They live in Philadelphia. They wrote The Girl with the Red Balloon, which is a YA historical World War II, and it with magic. It's beautiful. I love it. I annotated it, and they actually looked through it and asked if they could take pictures of my annotations and then sent to their editor, because there was like a line in here that they used that they repeated but for a reason, and it stuck out to me, and I highlighted it and annotated on it, and they sent it to their editor as proof that it should have stayed in there, because I guess the editor was trying to get rid of it. But they said, for Julie, be a sponge, Kathryn Locke. I ran into them at an ALA in Philadelphia, and they were very sweet. We talked for a minute. S.K. Ali, Love from A to Z. Very, very cute book. Loved this book. Read the ARC. Bought this finished copy at BookCon, I think? BookCon BEA. And met S.K. Ali, who was just amazing. And it says, to Julie, love from S to J, and from S.K. Ali. So I'm assuming instead of love from A to Z, it was love from her to me. I have Ramona Blue by Julie Murphy, who is a Texas author, and Amber, again, went to a signing by them and then picked this up for me. I read this, but I read a library copy and really enjoyed it. Amber knew that, so she grabbed this for me. It says, Julie, great names, great minds, float until you can swim, Ramona Blue, Julie Murphy. Wendy Higgins, whom I love. I love their YA stuff. This is not YA. This is adult, steamy, paranormal, sexy time, Hades, Persephone. I liked it. I liked it a lot. And I did pre-order this. It says, Julie, trust your instincts, Wendy Higgins. Very cool. She actually indie publishes, self-publishes this series, like her older works. Her YA is traditionally published. A lot of her steamy paranormal romance she self-publishes, which is really cool. We have Spellslinger by Sebastian D. Castell, who I met during an ALA, and this one I've never read. I didn't read the series, but I ran into him and he was signing. So it says, for Julie, magic is a con game, Sebastian, down in here. It was kind of neat. I think his assistant's name is Julie, and then the woman that was kind of like handling their event to make sure that they were all satisfied that was associated with ALA was also named Julie, so it was like a coven of Julies. We had a whole discussion about it. I don't really usually run into Julies in the wild, but I did in that situation, and it was kind of cool. One of my prized books, The Way to the Stars by Kay Ancrum, whom I love and adore, and this book means the actual world to me. There are just tear-stained, warped pages. Beautiful, beautiful book. And Kay Ancrum loved my review of The Wicker King so much that she had her mother read it. Her mother cried and then reached out to me and said, like, you made my mother cry and I'd really like to send you a book. So Kay Ancrum actually sent me this book, The Way to the Stars, and said, thank you for the lovely review, and then signed it Kay Ancrum right here, which is hard to see because it's on these wavelengths and it's a shiny pen, but this one means a lot to me. I have The Astonishing Color of After by Emily X.R. Pan, whom I met at Nova Teen. Frederick Bachman, Anxious People. This one was a pre-order, really cool during COVID that I was able to get it signed, and then also got a ticket for like a virtual discussion that they had with Ruth Ware. And I love Frederick Bachman, you guys know that. Let's talk about this stunner. This is Night of Cake and Puppets by Laini Taylor, which is a companion novella for her Daughter of Smoke and Bone series. This one is signed for Julie by Laini Taylor. This is a stunning book. If you have not seen this, this follows Nick and Susanna, who are side characters in the Daughter of Smoke and Bone series. It is gorgeous. It is also fully illustrated inside by Laini Taylor's husband in like the most beautiful way. They're just really, really cool illustrations and really neat story following characters that I love from that book series that you don't get to see as much. This exclusive edition of Strange the Dreamer, which came from I believe a book box. I don't know which one, but she's signed up here. This one was sent to me very, very kindly by a subscriber because I was searching all over for the exclusive edition of this with the sprayed edges. I was able to find a first printing of this hardback. I think I paid like $80 for it because they're UK, and in the UK you can't get hardbacks after the first run or so. And I was able to find a signed Laini Taylor first edition hardback of this, but not the sprayed edges. And then somebody reached out and said they knew I was really looking for it and they didn't need it, didn't want it, or didn't feel as strongly about it as I did. So they sent this to me. So that's a prized possession. I love having that. And then I also have Strange the Dreamer and Muse of Nightmares, the US editions that are signed as well. These were so loved and annotated. Can you see all these tabs in here? This one again says for Julie and Laini Taylor. This one I sent down to Amber in Texas. She went and met Laini Taylor and she got to see like all of my tabs and annotations and thoughts, which was really cool. And she sent that back for me. And it was at the debut and the launch of Muse of Nightmares. So I was able to get this one as well. And I just PayPal'd her, Venmo'd her money, and she bought the book for me and got it signed and sent it back to me. So this one also says for Julie, Laini Taylor, and I love that I have those signed. Laini Taylor is one of my favorite authors, and that's one of my favorite book duologies. It is just so gorgeously written, and every time I read her writing, I wonder why I bother being an author, but it's okay. Also, Amber did go and see Jay Kristoff and Amy Kaufman at a signing in Texas and was able to get this signed and personalized for me. So it says, for Julie, we remember, has Amy and Jay's signature on here. I do love the Illuminate Files series as a whole. So I do have the other books in the hardcovers. If you haven't seen these, it does have like text and strike through on the cover that you can see through this sleeve, which is like transparent. Anyway, it was really cool to be able to have that signed and personalized as a part of my collection of those books, which are all the way up on my top shelf. I have When No One Is Watching. I have the ARC, and then I got a finished copy from the Unplugged book box, and it came with a signed book plate. So I did a giveaway for like the finished copy, and then I put the signed book plate in my ARC. So this is actually the ARC copy that I put the book plate in because this is the one that I annotated. I hope you get this message by Farah Nasrishi, whom I met at BEA, and I was able to get this signed and personalized. I did get the Owl Crate edition, which had the reversed like green and peach colors. I gave that away. That was signed as well. I had the hardback, but I read and annotated this version, so I just kept this one since it was personalized to me and signed, as opposed to just signed. I have Ashley Elson's 10 Blind Dates, and I adored this book. So I did stand in line for Ashley Elson to sign this, and it says to Julie and her signature down below. So I was able to meet her at BEA prior to its release. So this is the ARC that I was able to get signed. Similarly, Tamsin Muir was there. There was a ton of scheduling issues with her at BEA. She was very, very late getting there. I don't know what really happened, but I stood in line for hours and hours, and then I had to go and do something else. Jamie very, very kindly stood in line for me and got this signed. Julie, you're apparently bones, blame Jamie, and then it has Tamsin's signature. So I do have a signed ARC of this. I also have an ARC of Harrow the Ninth, but I haven't read either one of them, so that's going to go back there with the other ARC. I'll read them at some point. I have Mooncakes by Wendy Sue and Susanna Walker, and this one is also signed and personalized with a little drawing. I think I chose the pigeon. You could choose what you wanted to get, I think, drawn. I chose pigeon because pigeons were a big thing at BEA that year. There was a whole bunch inside the building. It was just cute. So this is signed by both the author and the illustrator. I really enjoyed it, but I don't have a finished copy because the ARC is really cool to me, and I love that it's signed and personalized. I have Hollow Kingdom by Kira Jane Buxton, whom I met at BEA. This is a really cool, like, zombie apocalyptic, but told through the viewpoint of animals story. She really loves animals. She champions for them. And it says, for Julie, cheers to crows and bookish mofos and Cheetos and she has her signature down here. So the blurb of this is about a crow that loves Cheetos, and I was like, how could you not want to pick up a book about Cheetos? So she added the end Cheetos in there. The bird calls humans mofos, so she said bookish mofos in it. It was cute. This. I do not like this book, but I've kept it because it was so coveted at BEA, and I did meet Renee Ahdieh, who was just a beautiful, amazing human, and she was very, very nice, and it is signed and personalized, but I did not enjoy this book. It does say, to Julie, Renee Ahdieh, and I did stand in line and wait to meet her, and it was a wonderful experience. I liked sitting in line with my friends, but I didn't love this book, but I'm keeping it because it's signed and personalized, and I personally really enjoy getting physical arcs. I'll often keep a physical arc over a finished copy because, I mean, there's not as many of them. When they're signed and personalized like that, they just mean a little bit something more to me. I have Lock Every Door by Riley Sager, which again, I didn't love. I do have every one of Riley Sager's books, and I did just recently read Survive the Night by Riley Sager, which I did not enjoy. I was really hoping it would harken back more to like The Last Time I Lied or Final Girls, but it really missed the mark for me. This one as well just wasn't exactly what I wanted it to be, but I was able to meet Riley Sager and he did sign it for me. So to Julie, happy reading, Riley Sager. He was very nice. It's not a him issue necessarily. It's just that these books maybe aren't my perfect kind of thrillers. Another arc, this is David Nichols' Sweet Sorrow. I have not read this one yet, but if you know me at all, I adored One Day by David Nichols. And then I'm walking around BEA and there's David Nichols signing his new arc, and I freaked out a little bit. I don't think any book broke me as much as One Day. It was I think a right place, right time situation. Since then I've reread it and I didn't connect with it quite as much. But oh my goodness, I will never not love that book for what it meant to me when I did read it. So meeting him was really, really cool. And I think out of like everybody, even though I've met some very popular authors, this might have been the time where I like fangirled and freaked out the most. And it just says, to Julie, best wishes, David Nichols in there. And I did tell him that I bawled my eyes out at One Day and how much it meant to me. And he said he owed me a box of tissues. So I'm still waiting for them, but I have not read this yet. I'm still very excited that I have that book, and I'm sure it's one I'm going to keep regardless of whether or not I love it. And then I have The Glass Hotel by Emily St. John Mandel, whom I met at ALA. I met David Nichols at ALA too. Did I say BEA? It was ALA. I was able to get a signed copy of The Glass Hotel, which I have also not read yet, although this year I did read Station 11, so I do know that I love their writing. And this says, to Julie, with best wishes, Emily St. John Mandel, right down here. The line for this one was surprisingly, like, not that bad. ALA in general is, like, a lot calmer than a BEA. If those things ever happen again, who knows? But I was really excited to be able to meet her and to get that arc. And I am looking forward to reading it. I just haven't read it yet for whatever reason. The last three books here are all contemporary novels that I got signed when I went to Nova Teen, so I was able to meet these authors. The first one is Anger is a Gift by Mark Oshiro. This one is a very hard-hitting novel, and I was able to meet Mark Oshiro at BEA and kind of stood in the background because Natasha was so in love with this book, had already read it, had already like fallen in love. So it was like a pre-signed book that you could buy at BEA. But then I went to Nova Teen and Mark was there and I brought it to him and I said, hey, it's already signed. We met actually at BEA. I had already had a signed book, but I wanted to bring it back for you again and just get it like personalized. We talked for a while about BEA and about books and how cool it was that I was coming back again. He put, to Julie, you're magical, never forget. And then for the first time ever, he said, he actually signed the back cover of my book. He said he never signs in the back, but since it was already signed once, he still wanted to sign it that day, and so he signed it in the back of the book for me. So this is signed by Mark Oshiro twice, and then personalized once, and I've met him a couple times, and he's amazing. So, I really love this story, and I love that I have like a story behind the signed book as well. So that was really, really cool. And then the last two here are from the same author who's an author whose work meant a lot to me when I read their first book, and then subsequent books have not been phenomenal. I was actually going there to return an arc to him. So it is Jeff Zettner, the author of Goodbye Days and The Serpent King, as well as Rain and Delilah's Midnight Matinee. Jeff did this thing where he sent out arcs to readers, and then they did traveling books. So I organized a traveling book club with like 7 other readers who all read the arc for Rain and Delilah, annotated it, put notes in it, and then the book was sent back to Jeff. I knew I was going to be seeing him at Nova Teen, so instead of mailing it back to him, I brought it back to him physically, only nobody liked the book. I didn't like the book. Nobody else that read it liked the book. A lot of people DNF'd the book. The annotations were not the nicest, and I had to hand this book to him and then just want to crawl in a hole and die. But it was really neat to be able to hand it to him and have him be able to take something home at the same time I was getting these books signed. And he did kind of look at me though, because I brought these 2 from home, and then he said, "Do you not have a copy of Rain and Delilah to get signed?" And I said, No. It was definitely a little bit awkward. I was able to meet him and talk to him, but it was not like the most comfortable of situations because of the whole returning of the arc. It was a great idea in theory. He was promoting Rain and Delilah hard, and I was not there for that. So this is Goodbye Days. It says, "Julie, tell a good story," Jeff Zettner. And then in The Serpent King, which is one of my most beloved YA contemporary novels, it is heavily annotated, heavily tabbed. Lots of tears have gone into this book. I love it. And he wrote, another Rain and Delilah, "To Julie, walk into the bright nothing," and then again a signature down there by Jeff Zettner. So do I love that these are signed? Yes. I love The Serpent King. It's one of my all-time favorites. The Goodbye Days is fine. It's not like anything incredible. But The Serpent King was something that I was really glad to be able to talk to him and get signed, because it is a book that means a lot to me. He did kind of flip through my annotations and appreciate my tabs. That's all of my books. While my camera cooled off, I did put away all of the other books. So I have no idea how many this is. I could try to count them in editing, but I won't. I will say my desk was groaning under the pressure of all of those books. I am incredibly blessed, incredibly privileged, and very, very lucky to work with amazing publishers, to be able to collaborate with authors, to be able to go to events like BEA, ALA, BookCon when those events were taking place, to be able to go to a Nova Teen and travel and be able to meet authors, as well as to be able to afford some special editions of books or be gifted signed books by amazing subscribers. Blessed to have the books I do. And when somebody says, like, if you had to, in an emergency, which books are you taking off your shelves? I panic, because some of these signatures and personalized books mean a lot to me. Like, they genuinely do have really deep meaning for me. I think specifically like Shea Earnshaw's Wicked Deep, or The Way to the Stars by Kay Ankrum, The Serpent King being signed by Jeff Zettner, The Diviners being signed by Libba Bray, and Marcus Shiro's book, because I have those interactions with those authors, because I've spoken to those authors and made that face-to-face connection, they mean a lot to me. I never met Tessa Gratton or Laini Taylor, but those signed books mean a lot to me. Yeah, I know it's strange to place like value on signed books, but I do. And I really value and appreciate and can acknowledge how meaningful it is to have books that you love that are signed and personalized by authors that you admire. It means a lot to me as a reader, and it means a lot to me as a writer. So I would love to know down below which one of these you would be most excited to have in your collection. Do you have a signed book that you absolutely cherish? I'd love to hear that down below, because again, I fully understand how important it is and how magical it can be to have a signed book. So that is it for this incredibly large collection of signed, personalized, or special edition books. I'm gonna go try to fix my shelves. If you like this video, do give me a big thumbs up. Click subscribe, click that notification bell so you know when I put out new videos. I will not lie, I have very exciting ones coming out next week, so you're going to want to stay tuned. And yeah, that's it for now. I will see all of you in the next video. Bye guys. Good Lord.